Disclaimer.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily the views of Tash, Becky, or Be Your Best You podcast.
Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes, and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up, and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Hey guys, can we ask you a favour? Can we ask, if you haven't already, please make sure that you're following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you can get updated with all the latest episodes every week when they come out. You never know, it might just be the thing that you need to hear at that time. Also, don't forget you can watch us on YouTube, so make sure you head over there and subscribe to us there.
And share with all your friends.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash.
And Becky, the guest edition. And today we have been speaking to Stefanie Carlson, who is a intuitive healer, isn't she? Tash?
Yeah, and we had a really interesting conversation with Stefanie because she talks about and works with a lot of the same things that I do in terms of working with energy, mindset, inner child healing, the subconscious mind, all that kind of stuff. And it's always good to have these conversations again, isn't it? Because you always get these aha moments, even if you've heard it before and you've heard us speaking about these things before. I just think it's really great to get the different perspectives from different people and their different lenses and their different ways that they've gone through life and they're using it as well. So yeah, we had a really fascinating conversation with Stefanie, and I think there's going to be lots of little golden nuggets and special takeaways for you in this one. So enjoy guys. Today we have on the show, I'm just going to cough. Sorry, excuse me. Stefanie, hi, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
It's an honor to be here.
So, can you just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do, please?
Absolutely. So I am Stefanie. I am a healer, mentor, and meditation guide based out of Calgary, Alberta. And what I do is I help people meet themselves where they're at, no matter what it is that they're going through. I help them create a safe space within themselves to recognize mindset patterns, emotions, beliefs, actions, behaviors, things that are playing out in their lives and creating certain things. And if they're not liking what they're getting, then we can work together to be able to reframe the narratives and the stories, give different energy to inspired action, and allow space for deep emotional healing so that people can really recognize that no matter where you are in life, whether you are hot mess express, dumpster fire, riding down the road, or you are eagles in a row with divine flow, you are always worthy, forever whole, and completely enough, just like stardust.
Yes. And we love that. We love that. We have just heard Stefanie say that because she thought we were recording and we were like, you need to stop right now. Everybody needs to hear it. So I'm glad that we just kind of set off with that because I just think that is lovely. And I try to do the same thing with the ladies that I work with and also try and remind myself that every day. But it's hard, isn't it?
Yes, it can be because, life happens. And life does what it does best. It tosses in curveballs and pivots and hiccups and roadblocks. And, it's being able to recognize everything that we're experiencing is something that we have manifested, whether consciously or subconsciously. And sometimes if you're watching this and you're like, no, I don't want to be right here right now, that's when like, don't shoot the messenger, but yeah, at some point, because even when you reframe it in this sense, right? If you're here and you want to be here, right at this moment, you're listening to this radio station. So you're receiving information, you're listening to the words, the narratives, the stories, the people around you, everything that you're experiencing is mirroring back everything that you're feeling. And so if you want to get over here, whether it be like dream job, dream relationship, dream car, dream trips, like dream life, A, it already exists. And B, you have to like change the radio station. So through the process of doing that is going to be a whole lot of static. And what I say to my clients when we're in these moments is I'm like, welcome to the drunken toddler wobble. It feels really weird, right? Because you have this over here that you've been in for so long that you've created it as this sense of normalcy. And our brains and our bodies and our subconscious mind at all costs and our egos are trying to keep us safe. And it only knows how to do that based off of what it's been conditioned. So the programs that it's running. And then what you have to do is kind of go in and create your own safe space sanctuary. And I mean, working with mentors, healers, guides, like you can't do it all by yourself. I've had many mentors over the years that have helped me in so many wonderful ways. But ultimately, you have to be the one to do the work. So you have to figure out what it means to feel safe within yourself.
Mm.
And when you're doing that, it's going to be unraveling. You're going to be like, something's going to happen. You'll be like, well, but I feel like I need to do this. And then you're going to have this other little voice inside your head that's like, but no, wait, like, let's go this way, or let's go this way, or let's go this way. And then you get to decide, do I want to continue doing this? Or am I ready to step into this? And when you're going through this, you're going to have days where you're going to fall back, and you're going to have days where you're leaping forward, and it's going to be a hot mess kerfuffle of everything. So again, when you bring yourself back into that state of, I am always worthy, I am always whole, I am always enough, you start to reframe those narratives so that rather than getting lost in what is going on in your life or in the static per se, you can better hold on and go to the tools and the modalities to help you move through it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does,
Yeah.
yeah. And so how do you, so I'm really curious because you're talking, my language, and this is exactly kind of the work that I do. So I'm like really intrigued as to how you go about doing that. What's your kind of process, and how do you do that? Because you said, do you work with energy as well? You're intuitive.
Yeah. So I honestly have been doing this like my whole entire life. The running statement that a lot of people have said about me is you just have to stand near me and you feel better. So at my core and like the truth of my soul is like high priestess. I'm a healer. I'm a transmuter. I'm an activator. I'm an amplifier. So I have people that have met me once and their whole entire world's changed. Just because I like, what? It's a white healing light. And I'm like, but I face you with your authenticity. And then I have clients that I've worked with, and I kind of giggle because they've done like my 3-month mentorship. And then here they are 8 months later, getting everything that they had set their intentions in that 3-month mentorship. And so being able to look at that, to me, what I do is I actually bring together, because it's not a one and done. That's the thing, right? Is so many people, it's like going to the gym, it's like getting healthy, different things like that. Like it's not one road fits all. It's not you go once and you just do it. Like, I've been on this path and experience for 13. So, little backstory. 13 years ago, I was 250 pounds. I was in a mentally, emotionally, sometimes verbally abusive relationship. I was stepmom to a 3.5-year-old, and we had just bought a house in Airdrie, so a little town that was kind of outside of Calgary. And we moved in Easter weekend. 4 weeks later, I took a bike standard doing 90 kilometers an hour and went down the 100-foot incline backwards in my car.
Well,
Got out of the car and walked up the hill. So that was my, like, looking back on it now, I can kind of laugh. In that moment, I literally, when I called my boss to say that I wasn't going to make it to work that day, he had driven past my accident and thought somebody had died.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I kind of giggled and I was like, nope, it's me. I'm in the bottom of the dip. Like, I don't think I'm to work today. And that process, like, I ended up off work for 8 months. I went through deep emotional, like, upheaval. I was crying over, like, anything and everything. I fell into a really bad depression because I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what's going on? And my very first day back at work, I ended a 2.5-year engagement.
Oh.
Yeah. And then that began the unraveling. And I had to look at him and be like, I can't save myself and save you at the same time. So no matter how much I love you and how much I love our daughter and this and that and everything else, like, I can't. I need you to actually do the work, and you're not doing the work. All you're focusing on is how everything isn't good enough and it sucks and blah, 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 blah. And that's not who I am at my core. And then, I mean, I went through some other relationships. I've been single for like 5 years now because the last relationship was high school sweetheart reconnected after 15 years. And after 2 years, 2 attempts of living together and 3 breakups, I finally got the message. But again, within 24 hours of making the decision to end that relationship, I got a new job. I found my first ever little studio apartment all by myself. And then a week later, bought a new to me car. And so, really looking at that, right? Like, the pivot point and how it all changes. And when you make that decision, like, the moment you make the decision, the universe is like, okay, we're going to move this, and we're going to move this, and we're going to move this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And so then you're sitting there like, and at the time, yeah, you're like, okay, what's going on? But I mean, a lot of it too is your nervous system, which this is like new education stuff for me, is being able to, like, but I think it's so phenomenal. And somatic healing is really where I'm kind of bringing my practice, because it's recognizing, again, it's not this or that, it's this and that, right? So as human beings, we are masculine and feminine energy. We are shadow and light. We are good and bad. We are positive and negative. We are the yin and yang. And when you look at the yin and yang, right, you have the light and the dark, but you have little bits of each in the opposite. And when you look at that, it's all important. It all matters because we are whole no matter what's going on outside of us. And this took me a really long time to learn. And I still am learning it, right? I've gone through my own things. I'm 5.5 months post-surgery. I ended up having to have a hysterectomy due to stage 4 endometriosis and a whole bunch of fibroids and everything like that. And when I look at my whole entire, again, life experience as a whole, my surgery was the exact same day as my car accident 13 years ago. Yep. And I'm back working at the same place in a different location.
Oh, wow.
And my parents technically own my house like they did in Airdrie. This time it's just a condo, not an actual like house. So those full circle moments, right? I can sit here and be like, oh my God, I'm where I was 13 years ago and I've done nothing and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I had those moments. I've had those moments of like, okay, why did my soul bring me back to this place? But rather than like berating and beating myself up for it, so you're going to get kitty butt. And I'm looking at it differently, right? So the first place in the house that I'm in, my parents, we owned it for like 9 years and I lived there for like 7. Whereas this place, I've given myself like a 5-year limit because I want to move. And ultimately, I'm going to come visit you ladies.
Come.
Because I've actually had visions of me like living in England and Europe. So yeah, we're putting the pieces together, right? But I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a big um but again, being able to look at it, and the funny thing for me is I looked at my surgeon in my final appointment prior to surgery and made an off the cuff joke about, wouldn't it be funny if my surgery was the same day as my car accident 13 years ago? Because I'm all about changing the energy of the day, right? So May 5th, 2012, which is a 555, changed my life, was the wake up call, so that May 5th, 2025, which is a 559, could be the day that I come home to myself. And
Love
that's
that.
exactly what it's been, because it's leaning into your body and also understanding and recognizing endometriosis on a spiritual, emotional, energetic sequence and frequency is a disconnect with your inner femininity and your ability to receive. And if I look at, again, my soul and the family that I was born into, and I mean, I lived a good life. Like I didn't need or want for anything. And, my parents had the ability to give me a lot of things, but the emotional stability wasn't there. And I was a highly sensitive kid. I had no idea. I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 6. I was medicated for many, many years, eating my emotions, not feeling safe in any of it. And now I'm able to, be me in the truth that is me in the light of my family and their perceptions don't influence me anymore like they used to, which in my world is huge. Because I'm like, look at me growing, look at me growing, look at me growing. And so when it comes to healing, it's not, again, to bring us kind of back full circle, it's not, again, a one and done. It's not a linear here to there. It's a big, hot, fiery dumpster fire of a mess. And when you give yourself the permission to recognize that, you get to learn how to love yourself along the way rather than just feeling like I'll be good enough when I get here. You recognize that you're already good enough. So it's mindsets, it's emotions, it's being safe in your body, it's trusting your intuition, it's allowing yourself to get out of your own way, because we are our greatest block, but we're also our greatest asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is where it's so, I think, helpful and important to have someone like you, Stephanie, and you, Tash, to help people do this. Because like you say, it is such a mess, isn't it? And it's so huge. It's really so helpful to have you guys helping people through these things and giving them the tools to do it.
I think it's really helpful to have. I think the biggest thing in that is that we can kind of reflect back to them when you're in it, and it doesn't, even for us who we do it, we live it, we work every day, we help other people successfully do it. When you're trying to look at yourself, you can't see yourself, can you? Because it feels so real. It's so, all encompassing, and you don't know what it is to be outside of that. And I think that's the benefit of working with somebody else. Whether it's someone that does the things we do or anyone else, they can look objectively at you and say, hey, look, this is it. And it's almost like it pulls you outside of that little box, doesn't it? And then you're like, oh, I see now. I see.
Yeah, sitting you in the throne of the observer, because again, your ego, which is, somebody said this on a podcast that I heard, and I was like, oh my God, it actually makes sense, is like your ergonomic overlay, right? So it's the mirrored perception of how you witness life. And so you have to learn how to take your ego and be like, hey, I get that you've been this way for so long, but come over here. It's okay. I've got you. Because you do create that community and you do create that sense of stability and understanding that your ego is always going to stop you. So when you're first starting out, or say you're hitting like a plateau of some kind, that's where it is really nice, again, to bring somebody else in, because as much as it's that to get that like that hit in the pit of like, ah, shit, I'm the problem. Like, it is such a powerful space to be as well, because you're honoring your growth and you're honoring that life that you want to live, because scientifically, your brain and your body don't know the difference between reality and imaginary. Right? So if you're in this, you wake up every day, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is one of the educators that I follow a lot and has really helped me with a lot of this, teaches that like we have over 75,000 thoughts in a day. And like 85% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as yesterday. So we're living yesterday's life in today, wondering why we don't have the life that we want tomorrow. So what if you showed up as that version of you that you would be tomorrow, today?
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? That's the key. But I can hear people going, but how do we do that?
You meet yourself in the messy bit. So you meet yourself, you learn to become aware. Because again, so Carl Jung, and I like, ever since I heard this quote, I can't unhear it. Unless you bring the subconscious into the conscious mind, it'll run your life and you will call it fate.
Yeah, I love that one.
So you have to be willing to want the future life more than the stories of the past. That's how you do it, right? And like have moments. I've literally had moments, and like I kind of have to giggle, because when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was a like 5-year-old temper tantrum, but okay. But in the moment, like it's real. And so rather than berating myself for it or beating myself up for it, or like if I'm mad, I allow myself to be mad, because there's other emotions and feelings underneath that madness. And you have to ask yourself those questions. What am I really mad about? What is the root of this? Why is this affecting me so much? Why am I allowing this to influence how I feel about myself? And going into it. So I've had moments where I get like really, really freaking mad. And then I'm like, okay, rather than holding on to it, I'm in the emotion, I'm in the feelings, because emotions are energy in motion and you have to feel it to heal it. So now I've felt it, I've let it go, and then I have a dance party because I'm celebrating everything that's coming in. I'm celebrating the gratitude. I wake up and I meditate every single day. 15 to 30 minutes, non-negotiable. I've been doing it for, God, probably almost like year and a half now, like consistently. And the things that I've been able to manifest, like, and I mean, I'm not talking like I haven't gotten to the point of like hundreds of thousands of dollars or anything like that. Like, we're still working on healing my own relationship with money.
Yeah.
Cause like, welcome to being human. But I took myself on an epic solo birthday trip for my 40th birthday this summer so that I could like feed in the ocean, in Tofino, eat cake for breakfast, had an epic trip. Everything literally went click, 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 like it all aligned. And it's interesting because how it all came to pass is really neat, because I was supposed to go with a girlfriend of mine and she had to cancel at the last minute. So then I was like, oh, like I could still like, am I gonna go? Am I not gonna go? And so I hummed and hawed and I was like, well, you know what? We're gonna put it out there. We're gonna take the leap. And so, I was like looking at ferries. And so I booked the first ferry across and, putting the pieces together and showing up. Like, you have to show up for it. You have to take the inspired action, right? Because your personal reality is a mirrored reflection of your internal personality. And your personality is made of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So when you're looking at what's going on in your external world, right? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? Because we see based off of how we think. So if we are thinking about the problems and the hardships and the struggles and the challenges and everything like that, what are we going to get? We're going to see more of that because that's what we're giving our attention to. Whereas if we see and we're like, okay, well, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be obstacles. But if I focus on looking for solutions and opening doors and opportunities and pivot points, right? Like, rejection is protection and redirection. So if a door is closing in your face, not the door for you. So rather than beating your head against the door, trying to get it to open, have a moment, take a pause, take a few breaths, be like, okay, see you, I feel you. All right, let's go. And then make the pivot and allow yourself to do that, because that's how you make those changes. And so I took the first step, right? To manifest my trip to Tofino. I had to be willing to let go of the money that I was going to invest. I had to create a backup plan to be like, because again, brain and body doesn't know the difference. So if I wasn't going to be able to make it to Tofino, there's a lake that oddly enough is actually the campground that I went to as a kid. And it has like a big body of water, so you can't see really land on the other side. So I was like, okay, we could like makeshift. I can pretend that the waves of the ocean are lapping up against my feet, right? And recognizing that no matter what, I was going to have the most epic birthday. And it was going to be what it needed to be. And then, so I did that. And then I booked, as I was booking the ferry for way back, I'm on the phone and my brother called me and then invited me to their trailer. And I was like, so oddly enough, I'm actually on the ferry website right at the moment, blah, 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 blah. And so it actually lined up beautifully. So I stayed at a girlfriend's house on the Friday night. I drove to Vancouver on the Saturday, took the ferry across to Nanaimo, found a little place, slept in my car, ended up driving to Port Alberni. A client of mine surprised me with, she has a buddy that lives there and he has a trailer. So I was able to actually stay in his trailer rather than the campground that I had booked. And so I'm like, best $50 I ever lost, because I literally put the deposit down on the campsite. And 24 hours later, my client messaged me with like, do you want your birthday surprise? And I was like, yes, like birthday surprise, what? And so then she told me, and the funny thing, had I actually stayed at the campground, I would have spent my birthday getting evacuated because there was another fire that started on the island. And it was actually further from Tofino and all of these things. So everything all worked out in the best possible way. And I got to have the most epic day ever. And rather than, again, being evacuated, spending my birthday alone. And so when you like give your energy into just letting it go, and my one girlfriend was like, you're seriously going to some random dude's place? Like, you've never met this guy, like really? Right? And I was like, yeah, I like, it's my client. Like, my client's not going to put me somewhere that's not safe. Right? And so she was like, okay. She was like, well, what's your sign? Like, what is your man? Like, bring me this so that I know I am where I'm meant to be. And I was like, oh, that's easy. Dragonflies. Always dragonflies. And she was like, okay. And so I get there and we walk into his greenhouse, and on the shelf is a lantern with dragonflies. Right. And so it's finding those little pieces, right? Like showing up and doing the work. And just because something doesn't work exactly the way that you think it's supposed to, doesn't mean that it's not working the way that it is meant to.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's like, it just makes me think of a conversation that Bex and we've been having for the last couple of days, where I've just been saying, when you set an intention and you ask for something, like you obviously have, you have an intention. When we're in our healing journeys, you have an intention, don't you? I want to kind of, whatever that is, I want to remember who I truly am. I want to release the fears. I want to be the highest version of myself. Enter your kind of desire here. That's your intention. And I think so often as humans, we set that intention and we're like, right, now all the good things are going to happen to me. And actually, sometimes, like you've just said, that's when shit hits the fan. Like things start going wrong, or things that we
Yep.
judge as bad are happening. And we're like, hi, why is this happening? Why is it getting worse and worse for me? This isn't right. Like someone's not listening to me. The universe isn't listening to me. And I'm like, we called this in. We have asked for it. With your intention, you have said, I want to be the, on my highest timeline, I want to be the highest version of me, etc. You have called that in. You have to trust that you're powerful and that your intention is powerful. And now you have set that in motion. And sometimes it's not exactly what you want, but it's exactly what you need, like you said. And you need all that bad stuff to happen to you so you can clear away all the crap and eventually get to where you have requested that you want to be. And we just judge it, don't we? Like you said, it's like that yin and yang thing again. We judge darkness or shadow or bad things. And actually, we need to have a mixture of both. We're living in a dualistic world where we do have the light and the dark, but polarity, and we need it, and we've chosen that as well. Like I think that's the biggest message. You chose that. That sounds sounds triggering to some people who are still in that kind of victim mentality mindset mode, and no judgment there, because God, I was there. I was fully in it.
And yeah, high five, sister, me too. Yeah.
Exactly. But when you actually free yourself from that, that's the best thing, isn't it? Because then you can go, right, okay, yeah, I did call this in some way, shape or form. I called it in, and it's going to work out for me. It's going to be for my highest good. So let's just roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to clean out the cookie jar, right? And in order to clean out the cookie jar, you got to look at the cookies that you've got in it, right?
Get rid of
So
those stale ones.
and yeah, right. They're stale. They're outdated. They're crushed. They're not in alignment with, honestly, the truth of who you came here to be. And when you are unpacking the conditioned beliefs that are put on us by society, family, upbringing, right? I mean, science shows that in the first 7 years of every single human being's life, you're fully engaged in your subconscious mind. So you don't actually have any understanding of the difference between fact and fiction. And so that's where you actually create all of your foundational belief systems. And then again, I know you have all of the past life karma shit too, which, I mean, depending on where you're at and who you are, like some people are like, I'm not ready for that yet. And other people are like, yes, let's go. But when you look at the intricateness of it, yeah, you chose your family, you chose your children. If you have children, you chose your challenges, your obstacles, your relationships. Everything that you experience is like predestined in a sense, right? Prior to you coming here. But you also have that free will to make those decisions along the way. And so you're always going to get there. The manner in which you get there is up to you. And so you can, one of the explanations that I say to my clients is, so you have a glass of water, right? So we'll use the bottle. Okay. And down at the bottom is a whole bunch of sediment. It's all of the bullshit that your soul chose to incarnate with in this life. And so when the sediment is settled, the bottle looks really clear, right? Like you can see through it. You're like, oh, hey, stay fancy, right? But then if you stick a spoon in it, so life comes in and it stirs it up, all that sediment comes up into the water, and then the water gets murky. And this is where a lot of people get lost, because they get lost in the emotions. They get lost in the pain. They get lost in the struggle. They get lost in the crap, right? But here's the thing. If you take that spoon and you actually scoop the shit out, and you continue to scoop it out and scoop it out and scoop it out and scoop it out. And I always say, I'm like, grab your fucking comfies, like, get ready. We're going to love your inner child. We're going to love who you are in that hot mess express. Like, I want you to love yourself even when you're the raging fucking lunatic. Because what you're doing is you're honoring those emotions rather than being all like, this emotion is why I'm like this, right? You're sitting here being like, okay, so this is emotion is a pattern and it brings this up, but now I get to decide to move away from it. And the more and more that you do that, then eventually the sediment in the glass all comes out, and then the water is even clearer than it was before.
Yeah. I love that. And I think I wanted to come back to the emotions thing, because you spoke about it earlier and you've just brought it up again. So yeah, I think that we're also scared of it, going back to, this duality thing. We're so scared of negative, in inverted commas, emotions, aren't we? And we are programmed to think that they're wrong. So we shove them down. And again, then your water analogy is exactly right. We push them down and we're not aware of them. But actually, and oh God, I was the best at that. But emotions are messengers, aren't they? There's like there's so much wisdom in the emotions like anger, or fear, or resentment, all those heavy ones that we don't want to admit that we have. They're like, they have so much wisdom in them, don't they? And I don't know, like I I mean, I do kind of a lot of work with that in the work that I do. How do you kind of help people process emotions? Because I'm sure there are people here right now who have lots of emotions stored down and they are trying to shove them down, and maybe they don't know how to process them. I know for me, anger was a big one because I would always say, up until very, very recently, I'm just not an angry person.
Yeah.
I don't really get angry.
Mm.
Like, I'll have occasions where I'll feel the anger, and then I can tell you very viscerally where it is. My anger's in my stomach and it's like a burning fire. I know what it feels like.
I love that. I'm not an angry person.
But that's how I described myself, as in my identity.
Yeah.
That was what I said. I'm not
That's
an angry person.
right.
And it's crap. That's crap.
Yeah.
I have it all shoved down, and I
Mm.
did a little bit of exploring of it. And I actually found out very quickly that my anger was always suppressed by fear, and it came from like my childhood, around my dad. And I was so scared to feel anger because I worried how he would react to that, which wasn't very good.
Mm.
So I just pushed my anger down. I wasn't allowed to feel anger because I was scared of how my dad would react, and not in any kind of horrible way, but just
No.
as a child, my dad was scary to me.
Yeah.
And so I've carried on doing that now as an adult. As soon as I fear anger, before I can even recognize it, most of the time, unless I've really been pissed off, before I could notice it, it's gone, because now all I feel is fear. Feel is fear. And so I'm thinking I'm not angry at all, but I feel like I'm very scared and I don't like confrontation. And actually, it's not that. It's that I've just been programmed from that child to not listen to my anger and cover it up with fear. And I feel like I've got some unpacking to do with that anger. So anyway, that was kind of an example on my end. But if people are there now, sat here now listening, thinking, well, how do I start doing that? How do you do it? How do you do it with your clients? How have you done it?
The first thing that you have to do is meet yourself where you're at. That's the first key, right? Is and be okay with it, because fear is just false evidence appearing real. But what I like about that is it's an opportunity for you to forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. And so the first thing is like, acknowledge where you're at. The second thing is remind yourself that you are safe, because that inner child version of you that is still feeling that is still there. And so now what you get to do is you get to be that person that inner child needed that they didn't get. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're learning to meet yourself in the space of, I will always have my own back. And then some people journal it. I dance. I like to go outside into nature. I'm actually doing this. It's the second time around that I've been doing it. It's 100 days of grounding challenge. And so it's 60 seconds, bare feet on the earth, like arms by your side, eyes closed, and you're just breathing and hearing the sounds around you, and you're just kind of processing what's coming up, but you're grounding back into the earth. And when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're bringing yourself back into something greater than yourself. And so it's not about like religion. I mean, you can believe in God, you can call it source, you can call it spirit, you can call it universe, you can call it whatever, creator, whatever you want, right? But you're bringing yourself back into something greater than what you're physically going through in that moment. Some of my clients, I'll have them like write it out. So like write a letter to your inner child, what's coming up, or write a letter to the emotion. And so like automatic writing is really good because you're just tapping in and you're putting it on paper. And then for some people, I'm like, you can rip it up and you can like throw it in the garbage. You can flush it down the toilet. You can burn it. I'm a bit of a pyro. I like to burn shit. I'm a fire sign. To me, when I'm burning stuff, I'm bringing it back into the ethers and back into that source energy, right? Like I'm burning it from my body. And then also for the physical visual of me burning it is like me watching that transformation take place. And then I have fire of creativity that I then use as fuel.
Yeah.
So rather than, again, allowing it to keep me stuck in these spaces of not feeling enough or like getting whacked and all of the shit, and believe me, I've done it. Like, I used to be the person that you couldn't tell me anything negative because I would fly off to the rocker, right? Like I would get, and I would make it all about me and I would hold on to it and I would go like extreme case, either this way or this way. And I mean, there's still moments, but they're fewer and far between, right? And so that's the thing, is like stick with it, because even if you do find yourself in that space of like it happening again and again and again and again, I mean, you're going to walk down the same street, you're going to fall in the same freaking hole 50 bajillion times, even when you see it coming from a mile away. The difference is, what is the intention? Just like you said in the beginning of like when we hopped on this, right? What is the intention of what you're giving to that? Because you can plan the event, you can plan every little teeny tiny detail of the event, but you can't plan the outcome of the event. And so when you tap back into that intention that you originally set, what is the root of that intention? Why are you asking for what it is that you want in life? And then one mentor that I had said, the best way to make a decision is ask yourself, what is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? And what does your gut tell you? And then decide. Because that initial, very first instinctual, this is the answer, that is your truth. And your brain can convince you of it and then can immediately, just as convincingly, talk you out of that. So you have to get so strong in that intention that it doesn't matter what comes your way, you're going to blast through it and you're going to get to that end goal. And you just got to keep showing up as that person and show up as that person and show up as that person. So like I ask myself multiple times in a day, like, what would the future me do? How would the future me respond to this? How would I feel about this? What would be the thoughts that I'm thinking? And then I do my best to show up in that energy. And sometimes it works. And sometimes I fall flat on my face. But the beauty in that is when you've made all of those decisions and you've shown up and you've followed through and you've done the work, then you get to look back and be like, okay, this worked, this didn't. And, getting to recognize the modalities that work for you. So I make it a plan. Like I dance every day. I'm dancing all the time. I know I was sharing with you earlier, I do have my new modality that I'm launching on November 11th, which I'm really excited about, because it's really all about, again, bridging them all. So even when we go back to the emotions thing, to deny your emotions is to deny your femininity, because your feminine energy is where we feel. It's where we receive. And so even as like a society as a whole, what we're doing right now is, we've got the whole like the age of the feminine and the feminine awakening and, feminine empowerment and everything like that, which I'm all about. We also have to recognize that men have feminine energy too. And they've been conditioned that they're not safe to be in that femininity. And that is what we need to unlock. And we need to unlock it in a way that doesn't suppress them the way that we were suppressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because everybody is safe to feel emotions and everybody is worthy of going through deep healing and, starting over in a space where they feel safe to build the life that they dream of living. We're conditioned to ask for permission to do things and then wonder why nobody takes initiative.
Yep.
So we got to learn how to give ourselves permission because you're going to have haters, you're going to have naysayers, you're going to have people that are going to have opinions no matter what it is. You have to get to that point where it doesn't matter what anybody else says, you're going to do you for you, because that's what matters.
And I think to add to that and go even further as well, is you also have to realize that, we always wait for the evidence from the external before we take the leap. And actually, what we have to realize is we have to take that leap first and then trust that the external will catch up with us, because that's the way that the energy works, isn't it? Like, we're creating from our internal. It's just a mirror from what's within us. So if you're waiting to leap before you receive that external validation, you're gonna keep waiting, and you're gonna feel frustrated, and you're gonna feel like nothing's changing. You have to leap first, and then your reality will catch up with you, and that is terrifying, and it's not easy. But I think this goes back to what you said before as well, and I can't remember how you said it, but it was making me think of it. And it's like, we have to sometimes have, when we always say, oh, you have to hit rock bottom before you actually decide to change.
Yeah.
I think that's what the rock bottom is. It gets you to a point where you go, right, that's it.
Yeah,
I've had enough.
nothing to
I can't,
lose.
I've got
Yeah.
nothing to lose. I cannot stay like this any longer. Now I'm going to have to leap. And
Yeah.
that's why you get those shifts when you hit rock bottom, because you do actually take that leap
Yeah.
without any evidence around you. And so what I'm always trying to do for my clients and for myself is like, it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to hit rock bottom to take the leap. Let's try and do it, in as gracious as way as possible. If we can. It's going to be messy and it's going to be rocky, yeah, of course. But let's not have like a massive car accident, or wait until you lose someone that's really close to you, you love, or your relationship goes to pot, or you lose all your money or something.
Yeah.
Let's not let it get that way until we take the leap.
I think that that's exactly it. Because when you see that, what surfaces for me is that needed societal mass conscious conditioned belief around extremisms. Extreme this or extreme this, which is all shadow wounded, like masculine and feminine energy, right? Because we know scientifically everything is energy. And so when we're looking at that duality, it's again looking at what externally is going on and then being like, okay, what is coming up for me, so that, just as you said earlier, right? Like, you want something, you're asking for something. Well, then you have to bring yourself to match what it is that you're asking for. And in order to do that, you got to clear out the shit that's weighing you down. Because you ask, boom, the universe answers. Because in the quantum field, it already is. Everything already is in that moment. And so then you have to collapse the time, which means you have to let go of all of the stories telling you different than this over here. And it does feel really, really wonky, and it feels really kind of weird. And the other thing that you have to let go of, as even going back into that, like waiting for the external sources, you got to let go of the timeline, because the only real moment is the present moment. And so to collapse that divine timing, right? Well, the divine timing is found within the here and now. So being present in those moments and recognizing that everything is always working in your favor, even if you're unaware of the how. Because it's like the 3-step process. As I'm all like, the 3-step process, but we got 5 steps. Because I can math today. Right? So the 3-step process is like contrast. So yes, in some cases it is that rock bottom. And I've had to say this to clients where I'm like, it sucks that it has to be this way, but sometimes it's in the process of losing that very thing that you're holding on to so tightly that you learn the lessons that you weren't learning while holding on to it. Right? So that's that contrast. You have to have a catalyst of some kind, because again, we get so stuck in the 85% of the world's population is living out of an automatic body response, which means that your body knows how to live your life better than your mind. And in order to bring yourself back into that brain and heart coherence and into that mind and body coherence, you got to sit with your shit. And and it sucks and it's not fun. So yeah, like grab your snacks and grab all of your favorite like plushies and the things that cause you to feel safe and reach out, ask for help. There's no shame. And it's funny, as I said that, it was literally 53:33 on the clock. So 5333. Time to change the communication in which we use to speak to ourselves and others. Because when you ask for help, it actually shows great strength and courage because you're willing to do what it takes to get to where you want to go, no matter what comes up. Right? So that contrast causes you to act, right? Because when you're in a spot of all of the things that you don't want, you're generally asking for things that you do want. The second part is you got to not focus on all of the things that you don't want, and you got to start putting your focus and attention into the things that you do want and start getting excited for them. But step 2 is not our task, right? Like that's the universe, that's God, that's source, that's creator, and boom, it's instantaneous. So we ask, boom, it is delivered. Step 3 is where the work lies, and that is in us raising our vibration to match what it is that we're asking for. So you can't want a loving, soul-aligned relationship, for example, while believing that all men and women are bullshit. Because you're blocking yourself. You're going to continue to receive all that stuff because that's what you're conditioning yourself to look for. So you got to
And
get
also, they're
intentional.
still there. Like your perfect like partner could be right in front of you, and because you're not vibrating, you literally will not see them. Like, or if it's money, your opportunities to make money could be right there in your life right now. But if you're not vibrating, you will not see them, and that's the kind of where you got to work on your beliefs whilst also raising your frequency. It's the same, isn't it? It does the same. Releasing those limiting beliefs that are stopping you will inevitably raise your frequency as well and take you to that level of consciousness that you need to be at.
And then creating those new base level like frequencies, right? So once you go, this is where you're at. So if you're looking at it from like a level up, that's where you've got to meet yourself where you're at, right? And then the second thing is you have to remind yourself that you're safe to expand. And then you've got to remind yourself that you have your own back no matter what happens. Because your why has to be more important than every excuse your ego is going to tell you. And then you just keep showing up and you just live your life, right? So I remember 6 months ago, even, right? I'm out walking my cat because I'm weird. I love it. She has a harness and everything. She's not a fan of the harness, but we literally like take her out for walks. I remember being in this space because when I first got her 4 years ago, what I'm doing now is exactly what I wanted to do with her. But I wasn't in a really safe community. I was I was 19 stories in the air. So like the elevator, everything was like micro machines. I couldn't find a harness that fit her, like all of these things, right? And then a whole bunch of shit happened, which ended up bringing me to where I'm at now. And almost instantaneously after moving into this place, she started wanting to go outside and at the door and at the door and at the door and at the door and at the door. And I'm like, oh my God. And now she's got a patio. And like she is literally living her best life. But finding myself in these spaces where if I have a day, say, where like I don't have clients, right? Rather than being like, oh my God, and I don't have like the influx of like nonstop clients yet, and da 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 da, and all this kind of stuff. I find myself more like in gratitude for the time and space to be outside, to walk her, to have fun, to witness that, I'm living the life that I was intending to live 4 years ago, and getting to be in the gratitude of that. And like, I find myself smiling, like just sometimes like giddy like a kid for no apparent reason, but just at the life that I get to live. Right. And then even it's kind of funny because this brings me up to a story. So last summer we were walking around, and I had found this like water fountain rock garden thing. And so I did videos on my TikTok, and it's this whole big hoopla, whatever, right? Did really well. And then when I was going for my surgery, my mom and dad have friends that live just up the road from me, and they were doing like the parking lot cleaning. So I was parking my car in front of their house so that my car wouldn't get like ticketed and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm driving up the road to this house, and I'm like, oh my God, because my mom's car is parked out front, right? And I pull up, and it's the rock garden. Right. So I park, and I get into the car with my mom, and I'm like, so want to hear a funny story? And she's like, what? And I'm like, Marlene and JC's water fountain is on my TikTok. And my mom was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I was walking Lexi past her last summer. I had no idea it was their house. And my mom's like, Stefanie, like, how would you not? Like, you've been coming here for years. Like, they've never moved. And I was like, hey, well, first of all, it's been years since I've been here. Secondly, but it's that, again, the full circle moments, right? And so when you get to come full circle, it's not always to, like, again, beat yourself up or be all like, well, I didn't learn my lesson yet. There's some truth to that. But sometimes the greatest lesson is being able to be in that full circle moment and sit in the gratitude for what is being presented to you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because you're not the same. Yes, exactly. Right. Because I was just going to say, you literally took the words right out of my mouth. But like realizing that you're not that person anymore. And sometimes that is what the full circle moment is about, is because, even with like my surgery and everything, I had some people, and I understand from a healing standpoint and energy and stuff, like you can heal your body without surgery and this and that. And I fully believe that. I also know in my journey, it involved surgery. And the reason why I say that is because I remember being like 8, 9 years old, having like dreams of waking up in a hospital bed, playing hospital, like something had happened. And I was waking up, coming out of like I'd had surgery and like real life as a kid. So then and it never made sense to me. And I always thought there was something wrong with me because I was all like, what kid plays hospital that has no desire to be a doctor, right? But coming up to it, going through the surgery brings me all the way back to I was wished for on my mom's little sister's deathbed, who died from ovarian cancer. And then I was baptized 1 year to the day after she passed. And my grandma had a prophetic dream that I was going to be born a little girl with dark hair like my Auntie Darlene's, and I was. So all of my quirky little gifts, like, thanks, Grandma. Welcome. But being able to do that and then recognizing my soul came here to heal the shadow wounded feminine energy connections for my entire family lineage. And in order for me to do that, I had to go through this process so that I could learn to advocate for myself, to ask for the things that I need, and to be seen in those moments of vulnerability and feel safe to ask and receive. what I need to help me heal for me. And there's been a lot of tears, a lot of cries. Like I had a 10-year friendship leave my life at the same time.
Mm.
And, like looking at those things, I can hold on to the negativity of all of that, right? Or I can sit here and look at it and be like, she did what I couldn't do. And in the process of her leaving, I had 5 other people come into my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
which led me down this path, this path, this path. And then some of those people have left, which have then brought even more people into my life, which are even more in alignment with who I am and what I show up for, right? So, like, it is my mission to help as many people in this world love themselves for where they're at, recognize that their power is always within them. They are safe to ask for what they desire, and they are also safe to believe that they have the ability to receive it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you, Stefanie.
Thank you so much.
And I have to say, like, because I kept having this image pop in while you were talking, and I feel like I need to say it now.
Yeah.
You know, when you were talking about, the full circle moments and how we worry, like, oh, we're doing the same patterns and repeating the same thing. Are we not moving forward? All I just keep getting shown is like this. It's a spiral, but it's an upwards spiral. So we're constantly going round and round, and it can feel like we're doing the same things over and over again. But at the same time as we're going round, we're going up. So we're never stuck. We're never stopping, but it's just cycles, and we're constantly moving up. So, and that's a good thing. So stay the course, guys, because you're still moving forward.
And down, right? So when we think about, right, like the sense of alchemy, right? As above, so below, as the inner, so the outer. So just as much as you have the spiral going up, and I love that analogy, you also have the spiral that goes down because they're mirrored reflections of each other. So if you have this big, bright goal or wish in this aspect here, you have the same level of depth of fuel and energy down here that gets to drive that dream forward.
Yeah, love that. There we go.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful. So, Stefanie, can you just let everyone know where they can find you? And we'll put it in the show notes, but just let us know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So my website is intuitiveintellect.ca. And I have all of my different connections and everything there because I've got an ebook that's called Feeling Safe for Self-Care. I have self-guided courses. I have mentorships. I have series of sessions, individual sessions. I have a membership, all sorts of things. And then all of my social media handles are Intuitive Intellect Inc. And it's the same. I have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Awesome. So lots of
out.
places to choose
Yeah.
from. And also you've got your new modality. Yeah, you've got your 11th of November where you mix yoga, dance, and what was the other one?
Meditation. It's called Mega Flow.
That sounds really cool. So check that out,
so
everybody.
cool.
Stefanie, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. I love and appreciate you ladies so much. And thank you for this opportunity.
So welcome. Amazing. Right, guys, that's it for this week. We will see you next week. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.